Hi Aries, this is Wishko the Ferret. Thanks for hopping into the Ferret Den where we're keeping things warm and we're keeping things cozy. Today we have a reading for you for April 3rd to the 9th. The only thing to note here is that you have a full moon in Libra on the 6th. So if you want to take advantage of those energies, check out your favorite astrologer who can give you the full forecast and how it can affect your sign. Other than that, I have a Patreon launching here very soon. So if you like my stuff, like, subscribe, all that jazz, you can keep up to date with that and not miss content from me. So let's just hop right into it, Aries. So as always, drop into your heart space. Let the dust physically, spiritually, emotionally settle around and within you so that you can determine which messages are for you and which messages are for others. Thank you, Archangel Michael, for casting a light of protection around me at this time. Thank you, angel team. Thank you, spirit guides, for connecting me with the energy of Aries sun, moon, or rising, or whoever happens to be hearing this at this time and needs a message. So thank you for helping me with connecting with April 3rd to the 9th. I feel like this week you're remembering something important. I don't know, for some of you who have forgotten something. So someone's coming through saying you need sleep. So if you're not getting the proper amount of sleep, then Spirit's kind of adding you right now. Sorry. For some of you, your sleeping could be affecting your memory. So definitely get checked out by a medical professional if it's something that you're concerned about. But it seems like if you're having trouble remembering certain things, and it's probably because you're not getting enough sleep. So again, not a medical professional. If you are struggling with something like that, it's almost like if you're struggling with something like that, Spirit says you're enduring something right now, and it'd be best if oh, interesting. So they're kind of shooting at me straight. Sorry, it's this. I don't want this to come across as like insensitive, but it's just how it is. It's almost like they want you to kind of get your head on straight a little bit. So this week, it's almost like your head is spinning with a variety of options or a variety of, I'm hearing predicaments. So you have the Seven of Cups. The Seven of Cups is I want to say the issue of choice, but it's almost like you have the power of choice right now. Whether you find yourself in many different predicaments or so many different situations that you're unsure of what to do, it seems like you are falling into like some kind of devil energy. I feel like this is your head trapping your heart, interestingly enough. And the reason why I say interesting is because usually when I read the devil card, I either feel it in the head energy or I feel it in the heart energy. And I feel like for some of you, this is issues with the head affecting your heart in terms of maybe you're thinking about things in a negative light. This is just an example. Thinking about things in a negative light and then having it produce fear in your heart. So everything does, like with the mind, the heart, the body, the spiritual, it all interacts with one another and it all plays on one another. But they specifically want me to stress that it starts with some type of perspective in the mind or some type of thought brewing in the mind. It feels like kind of like storm clouds is what they're showing me. Storm clouds up in the head, and how it is almost like striking lightning bolts down to the heart, striking jolts of fear into your heart, that you're basically hitting your own panic button is what Spirit just said. So you have the Hanged Man here in your tarot. So I feel like this is saying that maybe seeing things from a whole different perspective. I feel like some of it's shedding light on it, shedding light on the situation, making sure that you are staying true to what you want, and that should help you determine where to go. What you want is important, Aries, so make sure that you're sticking to the things that you want. I feel like Spirit said you're not allowed to say no. You're not allowed to say no to yourself. Interesting. I don't know why, Aries, but like you have like a really weird like. It's not strange. I keep saying interesting because like this energy feels so disjointed, and I don't think I've come across an energy like this in a long time. Usually I feel like connected to energies that are very scattered. But I feel like for this one, it just seems rather disjointed. Like it's almost like rather than a piece of ice that is just shattered or a piece of glass that's shattered into like 1,000 tiny pieces and you're feeling very lost and confused, it feels like you have big 3 portions of a puzzle that just cracked and you're like, oh my gosh, now what do? I feel like I have to choose one piece of the mirror because I can't obviously put it back together. Once a mirror is broken, it's done. I can't fix it. So it's almost like, you have issues or you have separate sections of something and you're trying to pay attention to all of them or you're trying to solve them, or there's something that you are trying to, it's almost like, I don't want to say like multiple realities, but I mean, that's kind of what it feels like, right? Like if you see something and then like, this is just an example, but let's say you're, this blanket feels like a blanket. Okay, so I'm closing my eyes and this feels like a blanket. But if I open up my eyes and I find that it is a plastic rubber duck, I'm going to be really confused because it just felt like a blanket. So obviously if I close my eyes, it feels like a blanket. And I open my eyes and it doesn't look like it's a blanket and it defies everything that I've ever seen. So now I am stuck between these 2 realities where I'm seeing something and I'm feeling something and I have to make do. I have to fit them into my worldview somehow, that this rubber duck is, for whatever reason, very soft, but it doesn't look soft. It has smooth skin. Does that make sense? It's almost like the senses are contradicting. That's kind of, that's just what I'm getting here. It's kind of pulling at my gut a little bit, so perhaps that was a little bit of a poor example, but it feels like something just feels disjointed. Something feels like you're dealing with a predicament, and it's almost like you have all these perspectives, and some of them areas are just shaded. I'm feeling that they're shaded gray. So when you have these situations where you can view them as black or white, or some people would view them as black or white, there are so many shades of gray that you can't really find a piece of land to stand on because you're like, oh. So a change in perspective and really sticking to what you want, regardless of kind of whether it's right or wrong. Make sure that like whatever you choose or whatever ground you stand on, that you're taking responsibility, that you understand like the repercussions and also the effect that it has on yourself and other people. This isn't like a liability thing. This is a part of the energy. This feels like spirit doesn't, like, it's almost like you've been adding on extra weight to a situation, or perhaps you've been trying to find a solution to a certain predicament and you can't really seem to settle on an answer because nothing feels right to you. And you're just gonna have to, spirit's just like, you know what, just go with what you want, stick with what you want. Your perspective right here is just what you want, and knowing that what you want is okay, what you want is right. And it just 1818 on my clock here, 1818. So I feel like what you want is good enough for spirit. So, obviously this isn't confirmation to go out and wreck the place and do something bad, but this feels like if you are feeling shamed for whatever reason, like let's say you want to switch careers, just as an example, you want to switch careers because there's so many pieces of this puzzle that just doesn't fit in your life right now, with this one career, and you're like, oh my gosh, well, I'd want to go, and you're letting other people talk you out of it. It's almost like that's kind of the disjointed feeling that I'm getting. You could apply it as you see fit, but just an example to help you. But spirit is saying, like, if that's what you want, is to switch, follow what you want, because that is right to us, that is right, and we will support you and try to make it happen. The 8 of Wands here says that you are focused. I just heard you're focused on way too many things. So the 8 of Wands is about needing to focus a little bit more. You're trying to hold all of these energies in the same space. You're trying to hold all these perspectives, or you're trying to hold many different things in the same place. I'm hearing settle down, settle down. It is quite commonplace, I'm hearing. It is there. What is commonplace? It is commonplace, I think. They're showing me almost kind of an environment that where it's commonplace to have so many wands flying around everywhere. And I feel like that's not you. I mean, it could be, but it's almost like you're viewing it in the wrong way. If you are stuck, okay, here's what I have to say. If you are stuck in a job, or if you're like in a job that you actually like, okay, and see the way that I say stuck in a job almost feels like 8 of Swords energy where you're feeling blinded. If you are stuck in a place and you feel like it's the right job for you, where you feel like it could be meant for you, but at the same time, you're wanting to explore something else, then Spirit is saying what you want matters. Take that path or take that route, because if you are meant to stay in your job, you will always find your way back to that field. It might not be in like the same place or like that area. I'm feeling for some of you, maybe you want to move out of an area of interest into something else. But I feel like for others, this could just be moving on from a situation that doesn't serve you, but because you've stuck with it for so long or because it's cemented, it's hard to stand on different ground. There's just something here about bringing disjointed things together and trying to form one perspective out of it, but it's just really hard and it's causing you a lot of stress. But Spirit is saying focus in on the one thing, hone in, zero in the one thing that you want, and then everything else is kind of unimportant and disappears. It is still important in the grand scheme of things, but right now you need to have focus in order to get the job done and move forward so that you're not kind of stuck trying to gather up all these wands when you don't have the energy to hold them all, if that makes sense. So the Empress here, I feel like you're coming out shining, Aries. You're coming out with your like badassery here. The Empress is about fertility. I heard it's time for a change, Aries. It's time for a change. Let me write that down, actually. That's going to be the title. I never know what to call these things. So I feel like if you're feeling this change, then embracing that Empress energy. She is sexy. She is cool. She is confident. And she knows that she can create anything with the very touch of her fingers, with the very snap of her fingers. She knows that she is like the... I want to say she is like the epitome of creation. She knows that she has the power to create. She knows what she's dealing with because of her experiences. She's wise enough to know the types of things that she's dealt with before, and she can make it happen. And she knows that she can. So really stepping into that space of creation and confidence is going to serve you good. And if you're feeling called to change, then make a change. Spirit's like, if that's what you want, honey, go for it. So I'm going to see what kind of oracles you got going on here. Thank you for helping me pull for Aries. And they just, they pulled so many. Okay. So many jumped. Okay. So live your joy, guys. Live your joy. Thank you, angels, for supporting me as I follow my joy. So really step into that space. What lights you up? What brings you joy? Follow that. Literally follow it as if if you see a butterfly passing, follow it. That's almost like how the feelings feel to me. So when you're coming into something or you're coming into contact with something that almost makes your heart melt or that makes you feel good, go ahead and indulge in that for a little bit. If you had plans, I'm talking like if you're like a stickler for plans, you had a plan to, let's say you had a plan to come home and wash the dishes. And then you come home and you're like, your heart starts melting because you're thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm feeling inspired to paint. Follow that. Go paint for a little bit. The dishes will wait for you. They will be there. They're not going to grow legs and walk away. They're going to be there. So this isn't like putting off all responsibility, but make time for that little bit. You could say like, okay, for like 20 minutes or a half hour, I'm going to sit down and paint. Or like, oh, for maybe like 5 minutes, I can just doodle a little bit on this, piece of paper. If you feel like indulging in those little things, something that just makes you want to fly. For some of you, this could be music. Connect with music. Honestly, just turn on your favorite tunes. If you don't play instruments, this is turning on, like really indulging in the music that you like, turning on the tunes that you feel like you want to listen to. Thank you, angels, for inspiring me through music. I just heard rap. So if you're really into rap, if you're into certain kinds of beats, if you like curate a playlist, take the time to curate a playlist that may like get you into a certain mood. Like I specifically listen, for example, I listen to Connor Price when I want to get hype. For you, it doesn't have to be rap, but because I've been listening to a lot of his rapping, I'm saying it just in case rap, like you've been feeling like it could be a confirmation for some of you. Oh, hey, I should listen to more rap. For me, it could be a symbolic thing, so I'm bringing up the symbolic form in case that could apply for some of you. So for me, I like listening to Connor Price because I feel hyped up. I feel like thebomb.com. I feel like I can, come here and show you what I got and not be afraid of it because like, and then win it. Okay, I don't actually know any of his lyrics, but cool guy, cool music. Look him up. Open your heart, Archangel Chamuel. So thank you, Chamuel, for removing the barriers around my heart. So really awesome. I don't know how to connect that. So they're saying go to school. I don't really know how to connect that. I don't know if for some of you are actually in school. I know that when Spirit tells me to go to school, or they really say anything about school, they're telling me that I need to study up and learn some things. It feels like maybe that there are things that you can learn on how research. Okay, research how to do this. So some of you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say open your heart. Some of you might be unaware actually that you are there are barriers up around your heart. So this could be quite literally sitting with yourself, going on, I'm assuming because you're watching this, you have like online things, you have online available to you. So honestly, what I do is I look up, I'm a big fan of WikiHow. I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm a big fan of WikiHow. When eHow used to be a thing, or eHowcast or something, I don't know. I Google everything, guys. I'm like, is it normal when I'm 28 to do this? Or is it, is it possible? Or like, why is my panda plant dying? Or I Google everything. So especially when it comes to emotional things too, the internet is a resource. Use it. If you share a computer and you feel like, you can't confidently go in incognito mode and, look up ways that you can, ways that perhaps you can be more vulnerable, or maybe ways that you can become more self-aware, ways that you can recognize or feel like when something's holding you back. I feel like for some of you, your brain might be kind of foggy. So maybe going online and looking up ways that you can gain clarity from that. But you have to actually do work. Like, I don't know if perhaps this reading could shine a light. Perhaps the next tarot reading you listen to could shine a light from somebody else. But you really got to do the work yourself on this too. So this is your call to action that's coming from Spirit right now, saying you need to find it, you need to start digging yourself. I don't know if Spirit's going to tell you how to do it. So really digging into that, that fog in your brain and trying to figure out why am I feeling like what I want isn't right? Why am I feeling like what I want isn't good enough? So reading up on other perspectives can really help you, Aries. So what to focus on this week? So I pulled from Divine Abundance by Tosha Silver to figure out what your main focus on is this week. Main focus is this week, and you have the card Allowing. Radical acceptance says yes to reality in any given moment, so what's needed can come next. Okay. I feel like it's allowing yourself to be free. Spirit's really mentioning, they're just showing me somebody, not like the Superman type of vibe, but it's almost like you're wrapped up in a bunch of blankets and you're slowly taking off one layer at a time and exposing your heart, allowing for that vulnerability to occur. Even if it's just unwrapping yourself to recognize yourself, even if some of you might have, I don't want to say have a thing against, but some of you might be reluctant to show yourself to yourself because you're trying to protect yourself. Because sometimes we feel that if we acknowledge it to ourselves, that other people are going to see, because it'll slip through cracks of our exterior. They'll be able to see things once we recognize it or once it's brought into our awareness. So sometimes we push things down, or sometimes we just ignore it in favor of going to other things, when really it's actually the greatest strength in the world to allow for ourselves to be unwrapped and allow for ourselves to see, I'm hearing seeing inequalities. So we are all created equal. We are all cut from the same divine cloth. But there's something here about maybe you feel like you're less than someone else because of this, and you're not. Perhaps you were made to feel less than by someone else, but that's not the truth, Aries. And Spirit really wants you to take the dive in so that you can really parse through that and show yourself to yourself. That's your number one goal this week, I would say, is show yourself to yourself. So that way you can stand stronger and not have to go through this fog. You can actually stand tall in what you want and facing your fears, I heard. Having no fear. Both of my ears are burning right now. That's crazy. So I feel like that's also just bringing this reading to an end. So let me pull, because it's, we have a full moon coming up, and y'all know me and the moon, so I got to pull from the Moonology deck. So what do we have to keep in mind for this cycle, for this week, particularly around this full moon? Oh, I knew this card would come out as soon as I heard work through your fears. Did you guys see that? Oh, you did see it pop out? Work through your fears. New moon in Scorpio. Guys, my ears were burning. I literally thought this card's going to come out, and I know it is because they just told me work through your fears. Oh, y'all. That's magic. I love when that happens. I know this happens to me all the time, but like when it does, I can't help but be like a giddy little schoolgirl because I'm like, the universe is talking. Like, I don't know, whatever. When I see physical manifestations, I get excited, okay? So work through your fears, new moon in Scorpio. So that, to me, is quite literally what I just said. I don't know. I said what I said and I meant it. Really just facing your fears, but you have to do the work. You got to do the work, Aries. I hate to say it. I know you're moaning and groaning because I do. I moan and groan too when like spirit comes through and tells me I have to work on something, but it's there and it's waiting for you, honey, and it's not going away. So really just sit with it. It's fine. So like, so long as you are open and willing, just being willing and considering it is the first step, and spirit's going to help bring certain things to light. It might feel a little rough and unnecessary, and it might feel like a slap in the face, but trust me, you will heal. And the sooner you acknowledge it and work through it, the better off you're going to be. Spirit's like, the better off you're going to be. Oh, and they also want me to say this. By sitting in it longer, you're throwing salt into the wound. When you're not looking at it, they just said you're throwing salt in it. So the more you avoid it and the more you don't touch it, you're throwing salt at it and making it worse, basically. I don't know if y'all ever had salt in a wound, but it's awful. But, take some cleanser to it. Basically, take your eyes to it. That's going to help you cleanse it. Take your eyes to it, work through it, sort it in the proper compartments and components, and accept and embrace that they're there. That way you can shimmy on. I was going to say move on, but I just felt like a little shimmy. So shimmy on out of there, basically. Do the work and shimmy on out, Aries. That's what you got. So I rolled for you Angel Numbers by Kyle Gray. You have 66. Halt. Do not make any sudden moves or changes. Your angels are inviting you to consider your next steps carefully. Again, halt. Do not make any sudden moves or changes. Your angels are inviting you to consider your next steps carefully. So, again, sometimes when I get this message, specifically 66, I've had this. This is like, I don't know, the 10th time I've gotten this message since I've gotten this book and these dice. So sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, and I get really afraid and I don't want to make any sudden moves because that's what it told me. But really, first of all, you can't choose wrong, and I don't want you to panic. It is not... Okay, they're telling me to lean into the message, but I'm telling you to not freak out, okay? I don't want you to be afraid of making the wrong choice because you will never make the wrong choice. But Spirit does want you to stop and consider. They want you to really take time to sort through your fears. And like, it's almost like I'm hearing like, it's almost like you've been compartmentalizing and then avoiding, or compartmentalizing and then just not being aware of something being there. So I feel like once you sort through and get a clear head on something, you clear up this devil energy going on in your head, then I feel like the way forward will be clear and you will be able to make that change. So maybe not making that change immediately, because remember when I said it's time to make a change, really taking time this week to sit with it. Change is coming. It is time to actively make a change. But to sit with it first is going to be very important for you, Aries. Because it's almost like, okay, so it's just like you need to sort through that. Okay. So sorting through that stuff and then waiting kind of to see where you feel on it until you have a clear head. But that being said, Aries, thank you so much for allowing me to connect with your energy. Thank you to your guides and your spirit team. Thank you to my guides and spirit team for helping me connect with your energy. I hope this resonated with you, and I love you, I love you, I love you. I wish you nothing but the best week.